I've never hosted a podcast before, so I figured I'd start one by talking to someone who already has. This episode is a crash course for me and for you, with someone who knows what it takes to just hit record. Welcome to the very first episode of Startup or Shut Up, the podcast where we dive into bold ideas, talk to the people crazy enough to chase them, and learn how to start even before we're ready. Now let's jump right into it with our very first guest. Today I'm joined by Jay Muñoz, the host of two podcasts, Poison Touch Advice Hour and Baby Daddies. He's someone who jumped into podcasting and made it his own. Jay, welcome to Startup or Shut Up.
Thanks for having me. That's a
Yep.
lovely intro.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'm very excited to learn from you.
Of
Um,
course, of course.
cool. Tell us a little bit about your background and about your two podcasts and what they're all about.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Jay or Jake. Either's fine. I have been interested in media for about all my life. I ran the school newspaper in high school. I went to school for media production, originally with like a focus on news and things like that. But I did take a couple podcasting classes. Um, I worked at a news company in New York for a little bit, and then when COVID hit, as it did for so many of us, our lives went to shit. And so I quit my
Absolutely.
job in New York because New York was terrible. Uh, and I moved to Chicago and started bartending. Um, you know, After that, I was like, I need to be creative somehow. So I was Twitch streaming a lot at the time, and every month I would do these little advice streams where, people would come on and ask me questions. And it was just like a fun little hobby to do. But then I figured, what if I could just make it a podcast instead? So, I took all my previous training and I started the Poison Touch Advice Hour. Poison Touch is inspired by my favorite Pokemon, this Krogunk, it's a little frog.
Super
Um,
cute.
Thank you. And because I like to say we give you the best and worst advice to deal with all of life's predicaments. So, you get a little good advice, you get a little messy advice, and it's all 100% anonymous. That's the fun part. So people don't have to worry about, coming and airing out all their dirty laundry.
That's
After
cool.
that, my second podcast, Baby Daddies, I started with my good friend Mario after we got a little too invested in this small time gay reality show called For the Love of Dilfs. Um, it's had 3 seasons. They're all amazing, fabulous, but also small reality TV. So it's kind of got that like early 2000s kind of vibe to it. It's fantastic. So here we are.
Very cool. That's really awesome and very inspiring in order to be able to turn it into that direction. As far as inspiration, what specifically inspired you to start doing the podcast in the first place?
I think it was those Twitch streams that I mentioned earlier. Is like I was already doing it on Twitch, and then I started to like move away from streaming on Twitch. Um, it was like I have really odd hours as a bartender, so I'm like up late at night and I don't wake up early. It's like streaming on Twitch. You kind of do want to stream at those like nighttime hours, but that's peak working hours. So I was like, I gotta pivot somehow. So I think that the mix of my like work schedule plus moving away from Twitch was like, all right, let's try podcasting because it's something I'd already had a little bit of experience with just from projects in college and several classes I've taken. So it wasn't like out of the realm of expertise.
That's smart. That's a smart pivot in order to change the time frame for you to be able to have access to that. That's awesome. What is the bare minimum tools or platform someone needs to launch their first episode?
So there are a couple free options. I tragically use Adobe, but that's because I'm very lucky that my boyfriend and I both use it for different things and are able to split the price. However, I would not recommend Adobe to anyone just starting out unless you are like doing high level editing or animation like my boyfriend is, or like anything of the sort. Start with the free stuff. Start with the basics. You want like a little editing tool to edit your audio, um, edit your video as well if you're trying to do a video podcast because those are becoming more and more popular. Um, you need some form of microphone so that your audio isn't choppy. It doesn't have to be like an insanely good microphone. I think my first microphone, I think I have right here.
Yeah, I just got this microphone and I can't believe how much it can pick up.
Yeah, you gotta fiddle with the settings a bit. My first microphone, I still have it, is this Yeti Nano. It was maybe $40.
Very cool.
It's great stuff. Comes with a software so you can tweak how much it picks up, how much it leaves out, and stuff like that. But it'll serve your purposes. You need a microphone, you need some form of editing software, and you need a topic. You need something to talk about.
Definitely. Yeah, and as far as the idea, right? You came up really with some novice ideas, but as far as how do you structure your first episode?
Mm, I think it kind of is like the same way you would structure, coming up with a business or coming up with something. You got to find your niche, something that is different that'll grab viewers. For me, it was the fact that it's all anonymous advice, it's all viewer submitted. So it's like you need that pull. I feel like so often people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna start a podcast. We're just gonna talk about whatever." And that's fine. It's great for people to talk about whatever, right? But you need to have like maybe a little something extra there to get you there. But very simple. At least over at my podcast, I do my intro. I introduce my co-host. We talk for like maybe 6 to 8 minutes. Cut to break. Then we do the meat of the advice. We cut to another break, and we end off with another segment that I call Nasty Plot, where we give advice to like things that are happening in the world, things that no one wrote in about, but are like, this is really nagging at me.
Cool. And then as far as how many followers do you have right now and everything? What have you kind of built up?
Oh God, I'm still early days. Let's see what's happening over on the Instagram. On Instagram, I only have about like 500 followers, so
Awesome.
it's not that big. We're working on it. We're getting somewhere.
That's cool.
On TikTok, I don't even know. I hate TikTok. I hate TikTok, but you have to like use it. So I'm like forcing myself to post on TikTok, because that is like it's just the biggest social media platform right now,
Totally.
and the algorithm there is like really important. The one on Instagram changes so often, and it's like really annoying to work with, but the TikTok one I feel like is really powerful. You can get a really large audience if you work with the ever-changing algorithm. I hate that I'm like slaves to the algorithm gods. It changes so often and it's the worst.
Totally. That's one thing that I'm learning with is trying to get my message out there. It's kind of crazy. It's
Uh-huh. Because one week they like want videos that are over a minute. One week they want videos that are under a minute. They want captions that are over 40 words, under 20 words, like certain hashtags, not these. It's too much.
So then when you're doing your podcast too, you're doing your full podcast from start to finish, completely live, and then do your editing last, or do you break it up in kind of segments?
So when I first started, there was like maybe a couple months overlap where I want to say like the first season of the podcast was recorded live on Twitch, and then I edited it down afterwards. Then I realized that was stressing me out. So now we do pre-recorded. So I record just like this, and then I edit it down. But yeah, I kind of just we would do it off the cuff here. I write an outline. We go through that outline, and then I edit it down, and I post it the week after.
That's awesome. Cool. Um, so then, as far as editing and everything like that, and putting everything together and getting my podcast completely tied up, where should I post this, and how do I also gain some engagement as well?
This is where we talk about RSS. Your RSS feed is how you distribute your podcast. There's a couple different like free ways to put that up. I personally right now am using Spotify for podcasters. However, I am about to swap over to Patreon because
Mm.
my new thing is trying to grow my Patreon a bit. And so if I host my podcast on Patreon and send out my RSS feed that way, then people who pay the $5 to get the extra episodes can have them populate right on Apple Music or right on Spotify versus, only having the regular episodes on Spotify and then having to go to Patreon to get the bonus ones. So that's
Ah,
kind of where I'm at right now. But there's tons of free options. Spotify for podcasters is free to put out your RSS. I think RSS.com is free. Um, there's tons of different ones. You just gotta click around and see what works for you. The reason I started using Spotify for podcasters was because it was so user friendly. Like you can even, if you're like really novice and just want to get an episode out there, you can record and edit the full episode in the Spotify suite. So that's like an option for people. But I was like, I already have the editing software. I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna do what they taught me in school. So I was like, I don't need that. I just need to upload it.
That's hilarious. And then as far as engagement, what do you do specifically in order to drive people to listen to your podcast?
I tell them to listen to the episode or I'll cry. Uh, no, for me, I like to post a couple different things. So if you go over, to my Instagram, you'll see that every time I post a new episode, I actually post a couple different things.
Mm.
I post a like a meme-esque shit post with a lot of different pictures, like a collage, because that makes people laugh. After that, I post this like carousel that says what's in the episode. And so that way people can click and they'll see like the collage of all these different things. Like the most recent one had like Pedro Pascal and the Thunderbolts and Michael B. Jordan from Sinners, because in our Nasty Plot we talked a lot about movies. And then if you go over to the carousel, you can click through six different images that'll say what happened during that episode. So that's the main thing. And then over the course of that week, I just post Reel and TikTok, giving little clips from the episode. And then I pray that that brings people to the episode. And that's kind of what I do.
That's cool. That's awesome. Thank you for that insight. Um, as far as what not to do, what's like one thing that podcasters always kind of mess up with that you found, and when they're going through this journey?
I think something that's an immediate turnoff to me is because some of the hosting sites will be like, put ads in free, make money now. And it's like very that.
Mm.
But the thing is, it'll put like just like the worst ads at the front of your podcast, and then your podcast will be like front loaded by like 2 to 3 minutes of ads that nobody's asking for,
Oh,
and then by then people are already clicked off. They don't want to skip through over like 3 minutes of ads. They want to like, if there's like one ad, 15, 20 seconds up front, just press that 15 second twice, you get to the front of the podcast. But I think falling into the trap of those like put ads in now, make money, see return. Like I think sometimes starting out, you just got to do it for the love of the game, You just got to do it for the love of the game, It's just that you got to really want to be putting these things together.
totally. Make it a little organic and build up from
Yeah,
there.
100%. Otherwise, it comes off as you're just like hungry for money. It's just like a side gig for you, which is fine if it's just a side gig for you. But I feel like, people can kind of sense that when there's a little more passion there.
Got it. Yeah. Good advice. Um, as far as like final advice for a new podcaster, if you're mentoring someone starting their first podcast, like kind of like me right now, what's the first piece of advice you'd want them to hear?
We got to put a high pass filter, a low pass filter, and a de-esser. Those are the three things. You want to cut out all the low noises here so you don't get too much rumble. You want
Okay.
to cut out super high pitch noises.
Okay.
So you want an EQ that looks like a nice round curve.
Okay.
Okay, so and the audio filters available in any audio system will be able to help you with that. The second biggest thing is the de-esser. That way it cuts out all the implosives, all that pop, pop, pop. You want to cut that out because people hate to hear that in their ears.
Interesting. Thank you. Yeah.
That's for me. I spent so many years working as an editor, like at the news company and things. So for me, that's like my main way to tackle things is primarily from the editing side.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but also, like I said earlier, find what makes you different. There's so many podcasts of people just shooting the shit, which is great. I love hearing people shoot the shit. Some of my favorite podcasts are people shooting the shit. But it's like if we look at The Read, they talk primarily about pop culture through a black and queer lens.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at oh God, what other podcasts do I like? I like so many of them. Sibling Rivalry, Bob the Drag Queen, Monet Exchange. They talk about all types of different topics, but they're always bickering. That's kind of their thing. Um, I do Anonymous Advice. Um, Urgent Care also did. The Urgent Care is a podcast that's no longer around. It was
Ah.
started by Joel Kumbooster and Misha Johari, two great comedians. And they also did advice, which is part of why I was like, oh, I could totally do this.
Ah.
Um, So they did advice as well, but they did voicemails, and so that was like their big thing.
Ah, that's cool.
Yeah, so you gotta find something that makes you different that'll get people to, to listen to you.
Definitely. Cool. Thank you, Jay. I feel like I've learned so much from you already, and honestly, this conversation makes me realize how many people out there are ready to create something too. Here's a little fun fact: 66% of millennials and Gen Z have a side hustle or plan to start one soon, according to
We have to.
uh-huh.
We're
Totally.
broke. It's hard out here.
That is so true, right? And also it gets creative juices flowing and to be able to connect with people and just be a little bit more on the people side of things, right? Which is really awesome.
100%.
And it just shows how many people are really ready to build something on their own, whether it's a podcast, a business, or both. Um,
100%.
and that's one reason why I created Peer Founder to help people connect with the community, knowledge, and funding when they're ready to turn that hustle into something real. Rapid fire. Are you ready?
All right, let's do it. Let's get into it.
Biggest cringe moment on the mic.
Oh, I once had a guest on. I'm not gonna say who it was, but I thought they were a really cool person. Loved them. Amazing doing what they do in their normal stuff. On the mic, it was like dead air. They just like, I don't know if they were nervous or if they were too high or something. I know they had mentioned they got a little high before we recorded. Whatever it was, I felt like I was pulling all the weight. I was cringing the whole time. I was like, do I even put this episode out? I put it out, but it was, yeah, I definitely had to cut out a lot of like,
Oops, oops. Coffee or tea while editing.
coffee, always.
Cool. And then your dream guest.
Oh, my dream guest. I really would love Nicole Byers. I would love to have Nicole Byers on to give people advice. I think she's an amazing comedian. She's super funny. She's so uh she's full of jubilation. She that is one woman right there. I love her.
That's awesome. Well,
Or
if she's
Connor
listening.
Goldsmith. Connor Goldsmith, the host of the Cerebral podcast, the smartest person I've ever listened to on a mic, knows so much about X-Men, knows so much about literature and the world writ large. So like just to have him also come on and give people advice would be fab.
Cool. Well, if they're listening right now, how can they find you and to be able to connect with you?
Oh, find me over at Poison Touch Pod on Instagram or email me at poisontouchpod@gmail.com or go to poisontouch.com. You can find me. I'm out and about.
Awesome. Well, Jay, thank you for being a part of my very first episode. You made this way less intimidating and way more fun. If you
Of
enjoyed,
course. Thank you.
absolutely. If you enjoyed this conversation, go ahead and subscribe to Startup or Shut Up because we're just getting started.
And if you need advice and you need help, you got drama, send it over to poisontouch.com and I got you covered. All right.
Perfect. Love that. Thank you so much, Jay.
Of course. Thank you.
New episodes drop every other Tuesday, and up next on June 17th, I'll be chatting with Milo, a bold and unapologetic, sexy content creator who's turning heads and building a brand. We're going to talk about building confidence, breaking taboos, and the business of being yourself online. So hit that follow button and subscribe now so you don't miss it.